Hi, I'm Jacob and this is the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Today is Tactical Tuesday. We're going to talk about something that I think is important really quick, and that is mud tests. I started getting comments about Glocks failing mud tests recently and decided to look into it. Now real quick, let's talk about what a mud test is. To some degree, you take a gun, you put it in the mud, and then you shoot it. Mud seeps into cracks, it's gritty, it causes friction, it can cause a lot of firearms to fail. Now to understand if a mud test is good, or whether one mud test is good and another is bad, you have to have context. You have to understand what you're watching, and I want to give you a little bit of backstory. At one point in Afghanistan, I guess this was right around 2010, we had two Navy sailors get captured, and we were out for a solid month looking for these guys. We only got to resupply back at the COP or FOB twice. So we're constantly pulling guard or doing reconnaissance looking for these guys. And at one point we got dropped off on this mountain. And while we were moving to an area where we could get signal on a radio, we had to pitch a tent for the night, and so long story short, someone had stole my bivvy, so I had no waterproof cover for my sleeping bag, and someone had stole my poncho. So I really didn't have any waterproof gear. This month-long mission was supposed to be a 4-hour mission, so and we had supplies dropped into us. And so everybody got set up to sleep, and we were by this really big mound of dirt that was cool and had tunnels going into it, and then like a little pond on the inside with an island on the pond. A really cool little feature. Everybody got set up to sleep, and me and my buddy didn't have rain gear, so we felt like we needed to find somewhere dry to sleep, so we slept in these caves, right? These little tiny caves I had to crawl into, you know, that were only a couple feet in diameter, and they're at an angle sloping downwards. And everybody called us stupid and stuff, but we felt like we did this because we had to, because we didn't have wet weather gear. To make a short story short, it absolutely stormed all night. Me and my buddy who slept in the cave, we actually had two separate caves, didn't really sleep, but two guys got completely drenched, went down into this mound and got up onto the island that was in between this pond. They didn't get any sleep either, and they were completely covered in mud and drenched. And everybody else who had ponchos and bivvies and stuff was just coated in mud, and so were our firearms. So what's the first thing that an actual combat soldier has to do when you get absolutely coated in this kind of mud? Well, you got to clean your stuff. At least pull your bolt, make sure your internals are cleanish, lube that crap up. That's the first thing you do. Why do I say that? Because that was a very unusual occurrence. Normally, even in the military in full combat, you didn't get into that much mud. But we're using the mud as a measurement or a meter for reliability. The problem is that a mud test is only valuable if you can control your variables so that in your mud test you have pretty much the same mud in both tests, and you do it in a way that one gun passes the test and one gun fails. That's where the problem with these Glock mud tests come in. So I researched this, and I was shocked at the level of stupidity that I found, where people were throwing Glocks into mud that was like concrete and acting surprised when they didn't work. And then they threw every other gun that they threw into this mud, and they didn't run either. And there was no accurate meter, because some of the guns they would wash off and then try and shoot, and some of them they didn't. Long story short, the trend of the Glock fails the mud test is absolute foolishness, which I could have guessed by the people who are commenting. Why am I talking about this? I will be doing some mud testing shortly, but I want to give you context to understand what you're watching, if it's absolute crap or not. A firearm, any firearm, is a machine, just like your car. So if you open up your breech and dump concrete in there, it's not going to be running. And the most reliable gun on the planet is not going to run if you stick enough mud in it. It's kind of like saying that you're going to take the most reliable car and open your oil cap, drain your oil, and fill it with cement, and then brag that it's still going to run. It's not. So a mud test should be an accurate way to see whether or not a firearm is reliable. You might remember that I did one with my 1911 after a 2-day survival trip where I was crawling through the mud and swimming in a river with my gun on my side. But a lot of foolishness going on with these mud tests online, guys. So I hope that this video gives you some context in the future for when you're watching other people's videos. I will start doing a few mud tests on my own. As for everybody that talks about reliability of one system or another, they all fail. AKs will jam just like any other gun. And guess what? You stick this concrete-like mud into your AK, it's not going to run. I shouldn't need to explain that. But people buy a firearm because what they hear about it, and they think it's the most reliable thing on the planet, and then they never even go test it or hardly shoot it to even know whether it's true or not. They're like, it's worked every time I took it to the range. Yeah. So keep that in mind, guys. The problem is in the bushcraft, survival, and tactical community, to be educated and to grow in knowledge, you have to have context. And we live in a world where real life emergencies are so rare that the average person has absolutely no context and probably doesn't even know anybody who does. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, this video is completely funded and possible because of sales on my website, beachandtactical.com. Also due to sales from Grunt Style through brand ambassadorship and through Patreon. So all of those links will be in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you the understanding of what to look for. And I look forward to talking to you. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you for watching.